Guys, welcome back to Clockwork and Noodles for another breakdown of Shadow's House Season 2, Episode number 4. Welcome back to the channel, guys. Clockwork and Noodles here, breaking down anime every single week. If you are not subscribed already, make sure you go over and give the subscribe button a little bit of love. It really does help the channel out, and I really appreciate every single new noodling to the channel. So we are back at it, breaking down another episode of one of my favourite animes of the season. We are dealing with the aftermath of last week's events, the consequences. Do we tell Edward or do we keep it quiet? Barbara does admit that her Starbearer role is at risk. The removal of a Starbearer ends up warranting death. That does make me wonder, did Christopher end up dying? That is going to be quite sad if that is the case, because I wanted the figure to be him, but that could also be so obvious that it's not going to be him. There is a chance that he did end up dying in the end. It does make me wonder. Why? Why was he removed? What did he do? End up deciding not to tell Edward anything. Does make me question things. It doesn't feel like a very smart move. I understand why they don't want to, but at the same time, this is an event which seems above them. It seems very serious that at this point you would want maybe the adult's advice. You'd want somebody else's help. The intruder at this point is becoming more intrusive. They are appearing more and more frequently. Everybody is seeing them floating around. It does also make you wonder if the adults are aware of this intruder or not. Starbearers decide to latch down on the Let's Blame Kate train, even though you are monitoring her room and you pretty much know that the event itself had nothing to do with her. She wasn't there. You were monitoring her room. You knew she was there. And we even saw Emilico go into such lengths to defeat the Phantom in the end. They end up latching down because they're desperate, and it does irritate me a little bit. You're so desperate, you're just literally making illogical choices instead of making a right choice. You do need more help. You need to investigate people. We know the twins and their own shadows have been punished this week, and it's a very severe punishment, even for the Shadow family. The Shadows end up being punished as well. But the Starbearers are becoming desperate. Kate ends up snapping, and she does do the crime of mentioning Christopher. You're not supposed to mention him. Not only does she do this crime, she also decides to smack him where it really hurts, hitting the sore spot of how do you actually think you're being viewed. Everybody views you as being inferior, because we know Barbara worries about how she's being seen. She's always being compared. Kate has hit a very big sore spot with them. This whole situation could be handled miles better, but she does raise the key factor is you're not actually solving anything. You're just obeying orders. You're not essentially thinking for yourself. You're just latching down on Kate because Edward's told you to do so, despite the fact this has nothing to do with her. The result is that Kate gets to go and work out who the culprit is. However, this doesn't seem to have changed anything, because the Starbearers are still not doing any of their own research. You're now relying on Kate to find out what's going on without you guys helping or doing anything, because they initially don't grant her any special permits. You would think if you actually want to know the secret, you would do anything in your power to try and work out who's actually to blame, because this is huge. This could bring down your beloved grandfather's establishment, so you would think they would want to do more. However, they don't really go out of their way to do anything. The Starbearers are still undecided whether Kate is anything more than just a traitor. She essentially is, because she's against the grandfather and the establishment, but she has nothing to do with this, and at this point they still don't really have anything to be pinning on her. It's quite irritating to see that this is the decision that they make. But we are now entering the mystery and detective Kate show, which is quite cool. Who is responsible? Now, everybody ends up being very suspicious when you start to apply some motive or you try to do some more thinking. Barbara starts to appear suspicious. I don't think it's Barbara, because I don't think she would want to go and hurt Rosemary, because they seem really close, and even in the main ED, it's all about those two. So I just don't think it's Barbara, but I could be proven wrong. It could be her. They do state that Barbara doesn't appear till the end, and I can't quite remember if she was actually present. I know that Barbie was present. She was there ringing the bell, but something very wicked is lurking within the shadows. That is the first pun of this episode. I've got a few puns lined up this week. Let's go and look at the more horrific aspects of this week's episode. The twins falling sick very, very quickly. We have to watch them be flushed, and it is very gruesome. It's a very severe punishment that can destroy a living doll. So it's death. We know this can physically kill a human. This is literally a punishment that has been administered without a trial. No one in the Starbearers was actually there to perform any kind of trial, that just passed a judgment without considering, even though Ollie does mention it, they could just be puppets, seem disposable, possibility they could be controlled. We see a very severe punishment that could result in death being handed out without any trial, which is why I really think they should have escalated the entire issue. It should have been escalated to the main house. We should have involved the adults. We should have tried to get to the bottom of what's going on. Instead, it seems like the Starbearers are really trying to save face, pun intended, there's my second pun, by just passing and dealing with the obvious one. So you saw her break it, therefore she's guilty, without considering the fact that Belle could be a puppet and she had no real reason to act the way that she did. They even try to blame Susanna at one point for favouring her too much, and it ends up being a quarrel amongst themselves. We do get to see the Starbearers falling apart as a bit of an organisation. They are still relying on Kate to do all the hard work without doing the legwork themselves. A good detective always seeks out information, so we're going to start with some eyewitness accounts. Sadly, Mia didn't see anything due to the nature of how quick everything was, and that's when we get to see another horrific scene of poor Rosemary, who is violently sick. So sick that she's fitting, so sick that the treatment itself also seems like a punishment. We also saw via Mia the effects of the mind control coffee still applies. Even after being flushed, the living doll is still under the influence of the coffee, which is very concerning if that is the case. More potent than the soot that got into the body from the scorches. Rosemary being very sick is what initially in my head made me think that it wasn't Barbara, because we've seen the EED. We know there's a link to Barbara there. I did wonder, is this important? Is there a reason why Rosemary is the one who started it all? Because that is the link to Barbara. Is this link to Barbara a key to why Rosemary was the one who ended up starting the attack? I do wonder if this actually bears any importance. The team ends up growing to 4 with the addition of Sean and John. We have rumours of engagement flying in some nice little light-hearted fun moments. The hunt for clues starts to begin. So we now have 2 maps. I think we've got second floor mapped out, and now we're trying to map out the children's ward as well, which is a fantastic result. But we do see as well Kate is not good at physical excursions, struggling to get up the staircase. I don't remember if this has always been the case, which is concerning if that is the case, that she's really struggling. We end up with the end fun sequence where we supposedly find a hidden cabin. It is pretty run down, so I can forgive them for thinking it's abandoned. John's superhero strength literally pulling the entire front of the building off. That building was really run down if that building is able to come apart that well, or John is just freakishly strong and is trying to do his best impression of the Hulk. We end up finding the hangout of Oliver, nerdy hangout in the woods. I think Oliver likes Emilico, so I don't think the ending is anything to worry about. He's rushing over to Emilico. Emilico is the one who he was really praising. They ended up having to part him from her because he was praising her so much. I think it's going to end well, and I think it actually might result in us finding a friend in Oliver, gaining the trust of a Starbearer. So exactly what we need. We need somebody like him on side. Kate is going to be even more pleased when it's Emilico who ends up gaining us a step up with a Starbearer. May need to rebuild the building first before they actually get anything out of Oliver, because that building is wrecked. It's going to be interesting to find out who Oliver's gang is and if they can help us. We are now entering a mystery phase. It's a mystery anime all over, but this time we've got a bit of detective work going on, and I can't wait to find out who the culprit is, what's going on, because I do think the culprit is actually trying to start a rebellion against the main house. Works in our favour, but it does seem that they are willing to take down anybody who gets in the way. So they don't care if they destroy living dolls. They just seem to want to wreck the entire establishment and take down everybody in their path, whilst Kate wants to do it in a bit more of a subtle manner. They are working in our favour, but not with all of the results that we also need. So I think whoever it is has definitely got a bone to pick with the upper house. I mean, it could be Barbara. I mean, actual Barbara, not Barbie, because maybe Barbara is sad at what happened and how everything's turned out. Maybe she's angry at somebody. Whoever you pick, you can probably start to apply different reasons and make them suspicious as you want. Picking on people and trying to apply motives, it's not always as simple as that. It's going to be very interesting to see how the mystery starts to unfold. Can't wait to see what happens next week, guys. I hope you guys are having a great weekend. I will see you guys again for another breakdown very soon. Thank you guys so much for your continued support. It means a lot to me. Have a good day, guys. Bye-bye.